despite tremendous risk, danger, violence, and punishment. Punishment often involved the forced surrender of one's gender expression, even if just momentarily, until they were in a new town, outside of the gaze of local authorities. When husbands were outed as being assigned female at birth, newspapers were often the first to spread the word throughout the community. The press reported such accounts enthusiastically and frequently, exposing dynamic, contested, and varied stories of love, courage, risk, loss, and sadness. I utilize these accounts to offer a rigorous social history of the lives lived by female husbands, as well as a cultural history of the category of the female husband. Female husbands shows how the meaning of what seemed like a self-evident category changed over time. Beginning in England in the mid-18th century, female husbands lived full-time as men and entered legal, seemingly heterosexual marriages with women. One of the most celebrated and stable relationships was that of James and Mary Howe, who together ran the White Horse Tavern in the Poplar neighborhood of London's East End for decades. While the couple were held in great esteem by the community and acquired significant wealth for working people, even James shared the same fate of every female husband featured in this book. None were permitted to continue going about their lives in their chosen gender expression once the community determined they were assigned female at birth. Gender conformity itself was the punishment required by authorities and neighbors alike. While much was made about why and how people assigned female at birth transformed themselves into men, the female lovers who married them are equally intriguing. Female wives were sometimes portrayed as innocent victims of deception, though they were often active participants who knowingly and happily chose to enter these unconventional partnerships. Sometimes female wives disavowed their husbands, declaring ignorance about their lover's sex. Female wives of female husbands are often overlooked and neglected as queer figures of the past. The newspaper record of such relationships has shaped this sexism, as accounts often don't even include the wives' names. Despite this public erasure, female wives held a tremendous amount of power in their marriages, especially for the time, because they could publicly denounce their husband's gender at any time. Wives were known to do this under two circumstances: when they were surprised to find out their husband was female, or when their husband denied them a divorce on favorable terms. There is no denying that female wives gave legitimacy and stability to the gender of female husbands in the eyes of co-workers, friends, and society. Female husbands were primarily viewed through the lens of gender, given their claim to manhood, until the middle decades of the 19th century. Around mid-century, views and representations of female husbands began to change. The UK press largely lost interest in such stories, possibly because they occurred less frequently, but probably because the concept had run its course as an attention-grabbing headline that sold papers. The U.S. press grew by leaps and bounds during this era and adopted this long-standing British custom as its own. In U.S. newspapers in the 1840s and 1850s, female husbands were seen as a part of the growing women's rights movement. In the 1870s, they were associated with poverty and vagrancy. By the 1880s, they were cast as precursors to and legitimizers of same-sex relationships. Accounts of female husbands in the news increasingly emphasized sex over gender, arguing that those assigned female were really women and therefore could not be husbands. Authorities remained uncertain about how to react to those who transgender, and often